Welcome back, grade 8s. This week, we're going to be filling in every other bit that we didn't put last week. So last week, we learned how to sequence our drum beats. And this week, we're literally going to put in every single other instrument just to try and make a sort of complete track. So it's literally going to be our triple-layered, triple-decker icing and chocolate explosion of music. So let's immediately get started. I'm going to try and move a little bit quick so we can try and keep the video short, but you still need to try and understand all the points that are being made. So today we're going to click on instruments. And it'll immediately take you to a piano. Now, you don't need to know how to play piano. You just need to remember some of the simple rules I showed you back in Crow Music Lab. Now, what you'll notice here is you can play this piano just by using your keyboard. So look at all the different letters here. Those show you what keys to press. And if you want to change it to the actual pitch, so you can see the notes, whether C, D, E, F, G, just click that. And there you go, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and so on. Now, just to make things easy, I want you to, where it says off, you're going to click that and you're going to go to major scale, just so it can help simplify things a bit, okay? And I'm going to change back to my keys, but first let me know where my C is. So if you remember some of the stuff that we talked about once upon a time, we said C, whenever you're in the key, so right now I'm in the key of C, so as it says here, the key will be number 1. There's my 1, and that'll be do, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So do, re, mi, fa, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So if I build any chord from this 1, then what I end up with is a 1 chord. Right there. Okay? If I go down, I'll build a 7 chord. If I go down again, I'll build a 6 chord, and so on. So 6, 7, 1. Okay, and I'm just using my keyboard. I'm not using anything special. Now, that's all you need to know is that as your first basis. And your next basis, if you want to build a chord, just have your note and skip one white key in between. So you can see we've skipped this one, and then we go skip another one. We're going to skip that one and end up on that G. So right there. And now we have a basic chord. Super easy way to build chords if you don't know how to play the piano. Or if you don't know how to play many instruments. It's pretty simple. All right, so from that, let's try and create a chord progression. So I like where I'm at, so I'm in the 2nd octave. So piano has 6 octaves. It can go super high or it can go super low. Yeah, piano has the widest range of notes of all the instruments. I'm pretty sure about that. Now, I'm going to try and build a chord progression. Now, if you want to make a happy, bright sounding chord progression, all you have to do is just build it from the major chord and you're there. But if you want to make something a little bit more interesting, something that has a bit more of a mood, a little bit more contemplative, a little bit more reflective, you can build it from the minor. So I'm going to go 7, 6. So the 6th chord is known as the main minor chord. And the same way the 1 chord is the main major chord. All right, so on my 6th chord. Where's my 6? There we go. All right, and I'm going to try and just build some stuff from here. So let's see what we can do. So 6, 5, 3, 4. Let me do that again. All right, then back to my 6th chord. All right, so I like the way that sounds. Let me try and record it. So we're going to try and record it. Instead of actually programming the notes, we're going to be recording ourselves. So let's see if we can get this good. Let me add a touch of reverb. Reverb just gives it a more holy effect, like you're in a hall. But you'll hear that better once I record. So let me try and record that. So I'm going to try and click my metronome so it can be clicking in the background. And it'll give me a 4-bar intro. So let me first hear how quick it's going to be. So if this is my beat. 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, so I'll work with that. All right, let's record. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So not necessarily the most perfect thing, and I'll show you how it looks like. So I'll double click here, or you can click MIDI editor. They'll take you both to the same place. And here is what I've played. Now you'll notice some notes are slightly longer than others. They don't necessarily finish where I want them to finish. Some are shorter than others. So the way music producers deal with this is we have a two-step process. Simple, just know your Q's and R's, because after R comes Q in the alphabet. So just easy way to remember it. And we're going to start off with our first process called quantizing. So quantizing takes each note to its nearest value. Okay. So that's going to be our Q. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight everything, lasso everything together. Let me zoom out so I can see everything's highlighted. And I'm just going to click a simple button, quantize. Notice how everything has shifted to the nearest note. Now, after that, I'm going to go for my next process, and that's going to be called resize. So you need to know how to quantize and resize, just like that. And if you don't want it to make that noise as you're clicking through, just remove the monitor right there. It'll be fine. So when you do that, what you're going to do is just click legato. And now everything has gone to the end of the bar. Okay? So now let's hear how that sounds. Alright, so there we go. So now it sounds less human-like, a little bit more mechanical, because we've just programmed and made everything 100% correct. And that's not really how humans play. There's always just some slight timing, delays, some bit of extra. But if you want to get things really clean, then this is how you do it. Quantize and resize. Alright, so there's my first layer of chords. That's my piano. Now what I'm going to do is, to start building my layers, I'm going to duplicate this track. And I'm going to bring in a different voice. So let me start off by labeling this my piano chords. All right, and right there, I'm going to go to my next voice and I'm going to change the instrument. Now, if you want to know how to do that, remember, use this bottom menu. It will help you navigate it really easily. So let me go to my instrument. I'm going to try and bring in, let me stick with just put a different kind of piano. Let me go with a rock organ. Let's see how that sounds. All right, there we go. Let me hear how it sounds with my chords. All right, let's see how they sound together. All right, right there. Now notice I didn't show you this. Let me show you what happens if I put the reverb to full. Let's see how this sounds by itself. Can you hear that space when I switch it off? When I stop the track? Let me try to remove all the reverb. All of it. Let's see how it's snappy it sounds. See, it just stops. Whereas when the reverb is there, there is a little bit of space when I stop the track. Yeah? There we go. All right. So the trick is with reverb, never use too much. Use just a little bit. It's kind of like, you don't want to put too much of it because it can end up just making it sound really muddy. You don't want that. All right. So that's my second layer. That's going to be my organ chords. Organ chords right there. Now I'm going to create a third layer for my track. And I'm going to now bring in a different voice. So let me take it to a synth. You got to love them synths. So I'm going to bring in a synth pad. You can bring in any synth you want. Let's see. Let me go for helicopter orchestra. Let's see how that sounds by itself. Solo it. Sounds perfect. Let me put it all together. Let's see how it sounds. It literally sounds like helicopter blades chopping through the wind, which is really cool. So right there, we have 3 layers of chords. Let me change that to heli blades. Heli as in helicopter. Heli blades. Heli blade chords. All right, so that's that. That's our layer for the chords. Now let's bring in something that will really just help give a bit more drive, and that is our bass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this one more time, and I'm going to have my notes right here. Now, one thing before let me first show you something. So when you're putting in your bass, remember your bass is in the low register. So watch what happens if I try and go all the way up. Let me try to take up an octave. Notice these grayed out keys over here. That means it can't go that high, any higher than that. That's already really high for the bass. That's the limit. I can't take it much. I can't take it anywhere higher than that. It just won't allow me. All the notes are grayed out. And that's the point of a bass. Now, if I notice how I duplicated these tracks, I have 3 notes in each bar. Now, for a bass, let's see how that would sound. Have I already put in my bass? Let's see, instrument. Yes. Okay, let's hear that, just the solo. It sounds like there's too much, once again, the mud. We don't want to be in the mud. It just sounds too... Want it to be a little bit cleaner. So what I'm going to do is double click here, get to my MIDI editor, and I'm going to remove every note that is above another note. So right there, I want to just be left with a single line. Okay, so every lowest note should remain. Just lasso that and delete. And here are my lower notes. Let's hear how that sounds now. That sounds a whole lot better. Now I'm just going to change my voice for my bass. So click the instrument down here. Let me bring in something a little bit more orchestral. Let me go for my double bass. Where's the double bass? There's my double bass. Let's see how that sounds if I change the voice. Take it back, solo the track. Let's play. Now let's see if we can try and take that down an octave just to bring it more to its appropriate register, because a bass has to be bassy, not mid-rangey. Let's see how that sounds now. Much better. That sounds more like a bass. Let's hear it in the context of the mix. All right. And now that's our bass, but now we're going to bring in another layer for our bass. So you know how people always talk about you need to have a bass, you need to have something, a speaker that brings out the bass. So you have those, and those are called woofers. But when you want to really feel the bass, that's called the subwoofer, brings out those felt frequencies. So that's what we're going to bring in. We're going to program a sub bass. So let me just put in here. So this is my bass, and right here is going to be my sub bass. So I'm just going to find a different voice for my bass, even though it's the same notes. Let me go here to my instrument. Let me change the bass a bit. So I'm going to go to synth bass. Let's find some old school synth sine waves. There we go. Let's hear how that sounds. Solo the track. Let me see if I can take it down an octave. See if we can feel it a little bit more. Is it possible? It's already pretty low. It might not be able to go any lower. Let's see. Yeah, if there's only one note can go that much lower. So let me just Command Z, undo, and I'll just leave it there. So let's see how that sounds our sub bass. Let's see how it sounds the regular bass. Let me remove our sub. Can you hear the difference? Can you feel the difference? That's the better term. All right, now let me just loop this. I'll activate the looper. I'm going to trigger the sub bass on and off, and I want to see if you can feel the difference. This first bass is what you hear as the bass notes. This is what you feel, okay? Very important to know that. So let's go for it. With it both on, with it off, with it on. Can you feel it? One more time. With it on, then remove it. So you can feel that extra layer of thickness with your sub bass. Very important. Even though it's somewhere really in the back, people will feel it. All right, so right there we have 3 layers of our chords, 2 layers for our bass, and let's see how they sound all together. Let me remove my sub bass. Put it back in. All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend all of these to 16 bars, just like this. You already know how to do this. So whoop, whoop, and I'll just fast forward this part. All right, and right there, I have extended all my different tracks, the all 16 bars. Now we're going to add in, we're going to now put what we've just created on a plate. And that plate is going to make it servable. It's going to make it a little bit more interesting, and it's going to be able to be delivered to our audience. So what we're going to do is create another track, and we're going to do what we did last week. Go to our drum machine, and we're going to sequence some drum beats. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my kit. I feel like this sounds a little bit more of like a lot of tension is building up. So I'm going to go for cinematic, kind of like a movie. I'm going to remove these notes, just hold and drag it. Make sure you're just dragging it on one line. If you drag it more than one line, then it'll end up being messy. So drag it. There you go. There it is. All right. So let me try and play some of my drums as this is going on. So I'm just going to click play over here. It's going to loop round. I'm just going to program my beats. Let's go. All right, so right there, my computer is freezing because this is a lot of storage space that is taking up. So make sure your computer has the capability and good internet to do this. Because the more tracks you put, the more data it uses, the more space it needs. Cha. All right, I'm gonna work with that. Doom cha, doom cha. I like it. Sounds like it's building up some good energy. Doom cha. Doom, doom cha. Let's hear that. All right, that works for me. I'm gonna quickly just put it right there, and I'm gonna put it twice through. Right here. Yeah, so taking up my first 2 bars, that's my first drum beat. So let's see how that sounds with all together. All together. Alright, sounds pretty good. Alright, stop. Alright, right there. So that's my first drum beat. So I want you to have 2 drum beats. Make sure one is like it's building up the energy, and the second one is going to be like it's brought the energy. Okay? So I'm now going to bring in a fill, and I'm going to program that on C. I'm going to sequence it on C. So let's see what we can do. You heard that? Let's see what we can do. Alright, so I'm going to go. Let me put in some. Yeah, they already have some high toms for me. So doom. Doocha. Doom. So if you want to try and practice playing this, all you have to do is click play and then click back here and then practice playing the drums with it, and you'll see what you like. Let's hear that so far. All right, yeah. Doocha, 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 ja, ja. All right, so let's see. Let me try and remove this here. Take it back onto 2 bar fill. So right over here, let me bring my marker head. Gonna add C. Then let me try and, so for my second part of the fill, just gonna put it on E. Just to make things simple. Then a nice strong ending, toms, kicks, and snare. All right, let's add E. Let's hear how this sounds from bar number 5. That is absolutely perfect. So just to help emphasize that energy, I'm going to try and drop out the instruments on that 8th bar. So what am I going to do is just click. Oop, no Command Z. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to bring my marker head right over there. And I'm going to click slice. Same thing, click here, slice. I'm going to fast forward this. All right, now having sliced everything, I'm just going to remove, remember dropping out certain things just to help carve out what we have, just to make it interesting. What should I leave though? I'll drop out the bass. Let's drop out the bass. Let's leave the helis. Actually, let's drop out everything. Let's see how that sounds. All right, let me take it from bar number 5. Play the entire track. Seems like it's just soloing. I don't want you to solo. Play the whole thing. All right, yes, so that's pretty cool. So now you can hear that there's another drum beat that needs to be there. So that's my first drum beat, A, 2 fills, C, E. You can use 1 fill if you want, as long as you know how you're doing it. This drum beat over here should tell you that it's bringing the energy. The next one should say the energy is here. All right, so now let me program my second fill, my second beat on beat B. And this one's just going to be bringing in the hi-hat, bringing in the snare, bringing in all our basic drum elements just to bring in that energy. So I'm going to bring in all my hi-hats. Have my kick on 1 and somewhere there for my drums. Bring in an extra tom just to make things a little bit interesting. Let's see how that sounds. That sounds fun. Let me try to remove this. All right. Yeah, that works. So let me add B right there. Then add another B. Actually, instead of just adding, I can just drag it. So let me drag it. It's going to be going for a long way. Maybe I'll put in another fill there. So let's hear it from when the fill comes in. All right. Sorry, then let me just add in one fill just to make it feel complete. Actually, I feel like I'll just put in the same fill right there. So let me slice this up over here. Or just drag it back. And I'll just add C and E again because they already sound pretty good with this. All right. And now let's listen to the complete track. I have 3 layers of chords, 2 layers of bass, 1 with a sub bass to really thicken things up, drum machine to help just coordinate the energy. Let's hear the whole track from beginning to end. Wrong button. All right. And that's pretty much it. So that's how we pretty much put a complete track right there. Nice 16 bars, and you could loop that over and over again. If you want to activate that loop, just drag it out from here. Click those top grid lines. So I'll take it back. Click the numbers, boom, and then just drag it all the way through, and that'll be a loop. So all I want you to do is create a simple chord progression, simple 4 chords. Just pick any 4 chords you want. You generally just want to avoid, just so you don't end up making this mistake. I'll show you. You generally want to avoid playing a note on that 7th note. So let's say that's my 1. So you don't want to build a chord from the B. You want to avoid that 7 diminished chord. That's called a B diminished. Let me show you. If you can see my notes here, I'm building from the B. Yeah, just really avoid that chord, and it won't sound bad. What else? Yeah, so build a simple basic 4 chord progression. Make sure you quantize and resize so that it's a bit neater and so that it works a bit better. Make sure that each chord ends in the appropriate bar. So just simple 4 chords, that's fine. Have 3 different voices. So first, and choose any voice you want. I'm not putting any limitations there, but just have different voices. Have a bass, have a sub bass just to help bring in that energy, and have the drums help guide the energy, help really emphasize and punctuate different parts of the energy. And that's it for today's lesson. Go ahead for it, have some fun, and I will see you next week for another big one. See you, grade 8.